Keek on the mic, keek on the mic, keek on the mic, keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you also follow me on all my social media platforms to stay connected with all Keek on the Mic news. So, Bears fans, I have a pretty interesting topic to discuss here on the podcast today as it regards to our general manager, Ryan Poles. Obviously, Ryan Poles has gotten an opportunity to basically break down this roster and now build it up the way that he sees that it can be successful. And to me, he has done a pretty good job in continuing to add to this rebuilding Chicago Bears roster. Obviously, we got the #1 pick after a 3-14 record last year. He decided to trade down from 1 to 9 with the Carolina Panthers. In that trade, we got DJ Moore. Obviously, added Nate Davis, the guard, to help fortify the offensive line. Then with the 10th overall pick, he had a very solid right tackle in the draft in Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. Obviously added Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards to the defense. Obviously, you added a guy like Tyler Scott from Cincinnati to add another little speedster for Justin Fields. Overall, Ryan Poles has done a very nice job in adding some talent around Justin Fields and overall to help the Chicago Bears roster get better. But with these additions, obviously, a lot of analysts, a lot of people around social media in regards to the Chicago Bears feel that the Chicago Bears can now flirt with their winning record. They feel like they're going to be a whole lot better than a 3-win team they were a year ago, which I can totally agree with that. But Ryan Poles actually has bigger plans for his team. He thinks that this team this year can actually take the NFC North. And yes, I said that correctly. He thinks the Chicago Bears, this team, as soon as this year, can actually compete and win the NFC North. While he was talking to Jim Trotter of The Athletic, this is what he had to say in the interview with him. Poles, who believes the Bears should contend for an NFC North title this season, knows the team has yet to arrive. But he also says last season seems like a distant memory because the vibe within the locker room is so different. It's not even close, he says. This is a different group. Practice, meetings, the weight room. I feel like a family is starting to come together. Even with the rookie class just showing up this past week, there's just a different feeling. I absolutely love this, Chicago Bears fans. Not only is Ryan Poles confident in his team, he believes in the group of guys that he is bringing in to the Chicago Bears organization. Obviously, what I just mentioned in his little interview with Jim Trotter of The Athletic, he mentioned culture. He feels like the culture is getting better. He feels like it's a family atmosphere. And I think that was one of the things that the Chicago Bears were missing the last couple of years. I think some people forget how big culture is to a football team. And obviously, Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, they always talk about getting the right guys that fit their culture. And I can honestly agree that Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears have done a really good job this offseason, adding guys that not only fit the scheme of the Chicago Bears, but also fit the culture of what they're looking for in their franchise. Ryan Poles, and I love what he's saying here, he's just confident in his team. And I don't think anyone should fault any GM or any coach or any player being confident in their team. You just have to understand where Ryan Poles is coming from. He understands that a season ago, yes, the Chicago Bears were a 3-14 win team, right? They held the _1 overall pick, which means they were the worst team in the entire National Football League. But you have to understand where he's coming from. Other people see a 3-14 win team, right? But what Ryan Poles sees is that last year, the Chicago Bears were this close to winning a lot of those games. A lot of those games were one-score games that the Chicago Bears just did not finish. During that 10-game losing streak that people always like to bring up, they don't realize how many of those games the Bears were actually this close to winning. And the cool thing about that is that the Chicago Bears didn't really have a lot of talent on the roster last year, right? Of course, they had Justin Fields trying to will his team to victory, but around them, there wasn't a lot of talent on the Chicago Bears roster. Now, going back to what I just mentioned earlier in the podcast, Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears did a very good job in adding more talent to the roster, guys that can help elevate other guys around on this football team. And now Ryan Poles feels that with the talent that he's added in DJ Moore, Tyler Scott, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, right? All those guys that he added to the roster this offseason, he feels like that's going to be enough to help this team actually compete for the NFC North. Now, let's talk about if the Chicago Bears can actually compete in the NFC North. My answer to that question is absolutely yes. I feel like the NFC North this season is absolutely wide open. When you look at every single team in the NFC North, look at the Green Bay Packers. They basically just lost their entire offense when Aaron Rodgers was traded to the New York Jets. Everyone knows that Aaron Rodgers was basically the only reason keeping that franchise afloat. I'm not saying that Green Bay is going to be a terrible football team, but I feel like they're going to be a lot more beatable without Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, Green Bay can shock us all this season. Maybe Jordan Love comes out and plays incredible. They still have a pretty decent defense. Obviously, they have that two-headed monster in the backfield with Aaron Jones and all those guys, right? But they are still missing the guy that would make them a really good football team in Aaron Rodgers. So all in all, it's going to be up to Jordan Love to basically play well in order for the Green Bay Packers to compete for the NFC North. And at this moment, we just have not seen enough of Jordan Love to prove if the Green Bay Packers are actually going to be a good football team. When you look at the Minnesota Vikings, you look at an aging team, you look at a defense that is getting older, and their defense is now their weak point, and that is honestly a very weird thing to say because the Vikings defense was pretty good for a lot of years. So you have a look at an aging defense. Obviously, they still have some pieces on the offense. I think it's going to be their offense that keeps them in a lot of football games. Obviously, they added Jordan Addison in the draft. So the Minnesota Vikings are still going to be a decent football team. But when you look at the Vikings, they are also going to be a beatable football team. So I think when you look at the Vikings, that is a winnable game for the Chicago Bears, much like the Green Bay Packers. Now, the final team in the NFC North, the Detroit Lions. And I think this is going to be the toughest test for the Chicago Bears by far. Like I mentioned all the time about the Detroit Lions, when you look at the Detroit Lions, the only thing difference about the Lions and the Bears is that the Lions are a year ahead of their rebuild. They are looking like they are finally done with their rebuild. But once again, can Jared Goff play at that high level that he did last season? Obviously, the Detroit Lions ended the season very well. They were very close to making the playoffs, but they didn't. They did end with a winning record. They are flying high. The Detroit Lions fans are flying high. Everything is going well. They have all the momentum in the world and all the expectations in the world to win the NFC North. But outside of the Detroit Lions, I feel like the NFC North is wide open. So it makes all the sense in the world why Ryan Poles is so confident. He understands that with the talent that he added, if Justin Fields can just take that next step as a passer, as a player overall, the Chicago Bears will be in the conversation in the NFC North. And I don't think it's crazy to think that. So before we sit here and just attack Ryan Poles and say, no, he's absolutely nuts. There is no way in hell that the Chicago Bears can compete in the NFC North. Understand where the other teams are at in the NFC North. Once again, when you look at the NFC North, the only team that is a huge threat to the Chicago Bears, to me, in my personal opinion, is the Detroit Lions. But even when you look at the Lions, I feel like it could possibly be a winnable game. Of course, Bears fans, we need to see the product on the field. Obviously, just because we added all these guys doesn't mean the Chicago Bears are instantly going to be good, right? It may take a while. It may take a couple of games for everyone to click, for everyone to gain that chemistry, right? But all in all, if everything works, if Justin Fields takes that next step, the people that we brought into the organization, they start clicking, they get that chemistry and they start going, I can definitely see the Chicago Bears competing for the NFC North. All in all, Bears fans, the Chicago Bears are much younger, they're much deeper, and they're much mentally tougher than last year. This is a team with the culture they have in place, the guys that they have in place, the coaches they have in place. It's all going to come together once the season comes around. And I feel like this is going to be a team that's going to come in and play a full 60-minute football game. So teams better be prepared to get ready and face the Chicago Bears, because this is going to be a tough game for anyone that runs into the Chicago Bears, and that's just my personal opinion. And I absolutely love how confident Ryan Poles is in his team. He understands that. I feel like he thinks the Bears are close, and I like that he's not sitting here saying that they're going to win the NFC Championship or if they're going to win the Super Bowl. He's just saying that he feels confident the Bears can compete in NFC North, and I absolutely love his confidence. Bears fans, before I let you guys go, let me ask you guys this one question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you guys that the Bears can actually compete in the NFC North as soon as this season? Let me know down below in the comment section. Before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. Make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, back for all new Bears podcasts right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe.